Good morning. Welcome to Legal Tender. We are live from our studios here in the heart of the financial district in Brewster, Washington. My name is Cody Gunn, and I'm here with Alex Thomason.
You know, you said that. You just gave me a quick pause. I was like, wow, I was picturing all of the power and wealth that's in one small town.
Truly.
Right.
Truly. And if you've ever been to Brewster, you know exactly where the heart of the financial district is. It's like a glowing beacon.
Right. A beacon of red light, actually. Well, yeah. So we got our live studio here, and we're here in Brewster, and this is our first show. This is the first show that we're doing. We've probably done how many shows? Like 40, 50 shows?
Probably, yeah.
And probably 2 of those were good. And so now we're going to do some real fun stuff here.
We're really going to nail it now.
In our local studio. And so you can watch us live. You can watch us also on our website, on our podcast. So it's going to be a whole new generation of fun.
It's going to be amazing. But for our first show today, I actually ran across an article that I thought, you know what? We should talk about this because it's so amazing.
Let's hear it.
There is an entire generation of kids coming out of China. Their parents are really wealthy, and all these kids know how to do is spend the money. They don't know how to make it. They don't know how to manage it. All they know how to do is spend it.
Yeah, I don't think this is limited to China here.
But it's actually such a problem in China.
I know a bunch of spoiled brat kids that know how to spend it, not how to make it myself. But let's stick with China, and then I want to go to the States. So go ahead.
Yeah, but there's a whole generation of kids. They're the only children. They have a one-child policy over there. So the parents have $200 million.
You know, by the way, so I'm a trial lawyer, and one of the things I look at is, are you an only kid? Are you an only child?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of times that, you learn great things, great communication skills, great listening skills as an only child. But other times, you are not the nicest person in the world. Why? Because you didn't have to capitulate. You didn't have to compromise, and all the other C's that come in there, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you have to give in. You didn't have to care because you were the one cared for. So if you're the only child, you better take a long look in the mirror because it's coming right at you.
And hopefully, you know what? Hopefully you're not one of these kids and you don't end up on a Bloomberg article. I mean, the pictures this guy posted of these kids was absolutely amazing.
Who's the guy? What's the story?
So the guy goes over there. He's from Bloomberg, goes over, sees some kids, interviews a bunch of them, gets some pictures, writes the article about it. One of the pictures was from a guy who... He's one of the wealthy kids over there, and he showed a picture on his Instagram page of his Siberian Husky wearing 2 gold iWatches. I mean, those things are $10,000 a piece. A dog had one on each paw.
Oh my gosh! Now, but that's not excessive. I mean, don't people love their pets? I mean, that's pretty wonderful. It's great. They got one parent. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
But no, my question was, does the dog have an iPhone too? How's he going to sync? Is he going to sync his iWatches with his iPhone?
Well, you know what he's doing? He actually is testing the heartbeat. Right? Those things have all the heartbeats. You can send little love pictures.
Yeah. So the guy goes over there and he has some person round up like 6 or 7 of these kids. They meet at a restaurant just outside of Beijing. They go in and he goes, this is actually a direct quote from the article. This is how the meeting started. Drinking began in earnest before the food arrived. We toasted as a group, then in pairs, then in subgroups.
Wait, what time was this, by the way?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Probably was prior to lunch. Then in pairs again until everyone was so shattered, we felt like we'd known each other forever.
Okay, so hold on. I don't know if you've done very much business with the Asian culture, but part of the thing that they'll do is they want to make sure that you sit down and you drink with them first because they want to know, how do you A, handle alcohol, B, what kind of a person are you? And so... true story. I sat down to have a presentation where I was going to pitch this guy, and we crushed an entire. What are those? The giant bottles. How big are those? 32 liters.
I have no idea.
No, 32. The big, like the Grey Goose stuff. We did that with sake. We did the whole. We had like 36 shots each. This guy was ready to have my first child. I was ready to give him everything. I loved him. We were hugging. I completely forgot why we even met. But it sticks out. I mean, we never did any single business, but I love the guy. It was great.
You always know it's ended well
so
when you go for business and you end up hugging. I love it.
Oh.
Okay. So yeah, he goes over there, and one of the other pictures that was amazing in this article was the parents hired models for their son's birthday party.
Thank God. Man, I knew there was something I could covet.
I know.
That's what I need to have. Right. A model just to show up, just like, oh, hey, here you go, as your friend escort.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I need. Like when I go to the taco wagon for lunch in the financial district here in Brewster.
Milpo Market.
Yes. The Milpo Market, right. I want to be able to have models escort us, just like as a kind of entourage,
Now, if you remember right, one of the reasons, rewinding to one of the shows we previously said, MC Hammer, one of the reasons he went bankrupt was because
he had his entourage.
He had a 500-person entourage he had to pay for.
But there's got to be, so there's a lot of things that regular people like us, we can't get. Yeah. One of the things is apparently the rush of having an entourage.
Yes.
Think about the person who schedules that. So you have okay, we're going to have the first 5 cars go in front to announce. And then we're going to have do we come at the end? Do we come in the middle? Are we tired? Do we want to come early? All that stuff, all those headaches, those are problems we'll never have to have.
Yeah, because my entourage, when I come to the office in the morning, is the dog. And that's only every once in a while. When the dog decides he wants to come with me, that's my entourage.
Right. There you go. Me too.
Yeah, so the other thing was, this kind of led to me thinking about, there are a lot of people who stress about how do we've saved money, we've invested well, we have this certain amount of money that we would like to pass on to our kids when they get older.
Right.
How do we do that? How do we do that and not ruin our kids like these Chinese kids? I mean, obviously, this is a huge level of wealth we're talking about in China.
Right.
But, for here in the U.S., it doesn't take a lot of money to give to your kids. They just blow it. It ruins them, and it's sad times after that.
Well, even before that, though, I've had a lot of clients, older clients, that I have, meaning 70s, 80s, 90s, and I've said, hey, they've told me I've got bad kids. I said, well, okay. Meaning they've got bad adult children. And I'll say to them, okay, well, why are you going to leave them money in your will? And they say, well, I just feel like I should. I said, well, okay, look, don't you feel like should you help maybe some orphan children? How about some children who are being trafficked? How about, whatever? And they're like, yeah, but there is something that parents feel now that they need to give to kids. And what they've said? I've asked them the follow-up question. What makes your kids so bad?
Yeah.
You know what they say? Almost universally, I gave them anything they wanted.
That is brutal honesty. Can you imagine being the parent? Because, you don't get to hit the rewind button.
Whatever you need.
Whatever you want, you can have, Tim.
Yeah, I remember my dad, when I had swum under a dock and hit a post. My eye, the flesh above my eye my whole eye was lacerated. And I couldn't see in my left eye. Yeah. And turns out I needed 32 stitches. And he says, yeah, my whole eyebrow was ripped off.
Yeah.
And I go, Dad, am I okay? He goes, I'll put some duct tape on it. And I go, I don't know. And he goes, Alex, nobody cares, okay? And Adam goes, my brother, he goes, Alex, you want to be ugly? I go, okay, let's get in the hospital. Let's go right now. I'm like, 32 stitches later. What are you talking about?
Duct tape. No, we actually need a plastic surgeon to put this fillet back on my face.
Alex, nobody cares.
Nobody.
That was how I was raised.
One of my favorite things on this show is to throw people under the bus.
Oh, thank God. I love if it wasn't for the bus, we'd have no fun.
I know. And, one of my favorite targets is usually my wife, Amber.
Yeah.
She gets thrown under the bus all the time.
She's a large target.
I love it. And she loves it, too.
I don't mean large. I mean, she's a healthy target. I don't mean healthy. I just mean she's available.
Exactly. No offense taken.
Right.
But actually, today, I'm going to throw myself under the bus.
Okay.
Because this to demonstrate a good point. Because way back when, in my previous life, just out of high school, I was drafted to play baseball. Something I don't talk about very much. But
I talk about it all the time, actually.
I know. I actually never talk about it.
Usually, though, it's when I'm trying to get free drinks in the bar, and I'd be like, hey, my buddy here, he a pro ball player. I admit the fact you're not currently. And they're like, really? I go, so can I get some free drinks? And they're like, shouldn't he be buying? I'm like, no, he's selling and you're buying.
If you don't know who he is, you better ask somebody.
I know. He's a bull rider. Go ahead. Sorry.
Love it. Yeah, so got some money to go play baseball. Mm-hmm. What happened to that money?
What did happen to that money?
A large party happened with that money.
Yes.
I mean,
you got a big red truck, didn't you?
There were, no, it was green.
Oh,
there were
green.
trucks. There were trips.
Yes.
It was amazing. The money just flowed forever until it didn't flow anymore. So now here I am, fast forward over a decade now. And so now I actually have regrets because I'm like, man, it would be nice to have some of that to do X, Y, and Z. But
if you would have done what you're going to now start preaching to.
Exactly,
right?
Because was I taught anything about investing money, saving money?
Blame your parents, don't blame yourself. Go ahead.
That's why I said my parents didn't teach me any of that.
It's all their fault.
It is, absolutely. I blame them all.
I need to see what are the statute of limitations for a claim that we can sue them for failing to properly parent you. I mean, didn't they have some sort of obligation as a parental trustee of some kind?
I completely agree.
I'm sure that a jury will agree too. Probably not in this county, but in King County, they will.
King County, yes. And it'll be a huge award.
Huge award.
I guarantee it.
Right.
But one of the problems is, for parents is they want to educate their kids. You got to educate your kids about money, about investing money, saving money. And one of the things about these Chinese kids they had a problem with, how is it made? These kids didn't even know where the money came from. They have not a clue about how the money was made. So if you don't appreciate how it was made, I mean, you just spend it.
Right. That actually, I was looking at some of the big name people, Warren Buffett, eBay co-founder Pierre, those guys are not leaving their fortunes to their kids. Part of the reason is because they're complete commies, but part of the reason also is they just say, look, my kids, they can make their own money. Jackie Chan, we all love Jackie Chan. I mean, that guy is fantastic. But what he said, he's got a fantastic quote, but what he said is, if my son is capable, he can make his own money. If he's not, he'll just waste mine. That guy's a genius. I mean,
that is actually really genius.
Yeah, it is.
So here's a stat that's going to scare you. So a guy wrote a book, and it was Preparing Heirs was the title of the book. Mm-hmm. He did a study. He followed over 3,000 families from 1975 to 1995.
Okay.
And so he tracked how they were able to transfer wealth from generation 1 to generation 2. Over 70% of them failed.
What does it mean to fail?
What does it mean to fail?
Yeah.
It means the money is gone.
Oh.
So you don't have the money anymore because...
So parents had wealth, they tried to transfer to generation 2, and did it stop at generation 2, or what did it do?
It stopped at generation 2, and there was no chance even to move on to generation 3. Because, the saying is, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations. Oh, these families didn't even make it to 3 generations. They didn't even make it to 2.
So what was the percentage again for 3,000 families?
70%.
70%. I bet part of the reason is that, I know like in my family, talking about money between between to children was a very private conversation. I would never have thought to ask my dad, oh, how much do you make, right? Never, because it was considered rude, right?
Right.
But the reality is that when I grew up at the same time, we wouldn't have said, hey, is Uncle Freddie kind of weird the way he's touching you? We never would have said that. Now we're like, hey, Fred, step back or I'll shoot you in both eyes. It's a different world now, am I right?
It's a completely different world.
They're like, oh, great, your name's Henry, creepy glasses, a nice fur coat. Sure, you can watch our kids, no problem. A little different now.
A little bit different now. And here's the thing. You don't have to tell your kids how much money you have in order to teach them the principles that they actually need. Because one of the things I always tell clients to do if they have kids that are, they're old enough to understand some different concepts, bring your kids to your meeting. And we'll...
Donald Trump does that a lot.
True. So if you're going to bring your kids to your meeting, have them actually engage and ask questions, because there's nothing worse than bringing a kid to a meeting
and
having them get nothing out of it, and they sit there with their iPad.
Or worse, they say stupid things because they've never been to a meeting before in their life. I've been in these meetings with adults who bring their kids who are adults to meetings, and the kids will start out and they'll try to contribute. They have no value to add, and the dad's like, can you shut it for a second? You're making me look like a bad father. I'm like, you are a bad father. Go ahead.
The kid's just pointing out the obvious.
Right.
But yeah, so one of the things that's, there's 2 different problems. One of the problems is, what do you do if your kids are young, say preteen?
Right.
Or what do you do if your kids are older? One of the things that I love about educating sort of preteen kids, Warren Buffett has done something amazing. He has created this thing called the Secret Millionaires Club. Have you heard of this?
No.
Yeah, this is awesome.
That's why I'm not a part of it.
Dang it, you've missed out on your education.
Do you get to cut in front of lines? You get a badge, or do you get something cool hat?
You get these secret amazing stock tips that make you all this money. No, you don't. But what you do get is he has there's a website. It's called smckids.com.
Okay.
And you go onto the website. He's created a bunch of cartoons educating kids about certain financial concepts.
Nice.
Like one is they have this lemonade stand, and they're discussing, where are we going to put the lemonade stand?
What point in here do the cops come and go, woo-woo, where's your city license here? Oh, sorry, shut down. You've been regulated. Sorry, go ahead. Lemonade stand, go ahead.
That's at the end. That's all the way at the end. They save it for the end. The other thing they do is they talk about, he goes to Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, they own See's Candies. Mm-hmm. So he goes through and the kids are touring the candy factory, and he says, hey kids, what season do the candy companies sell the vast majority of their candy? Do you know?
Easter.
No.
Christmas. Okay, I was going to say Christmas, but I thought it was a trick question, so yeah. Okay.
No, so he says, look, if around the Christmas season, if they don't have enough candy to sell, they're going to miss out, and they have to wait all the way till next year to sell all this candy.
Okay.
So we use that to talk about inventory. How do you manage inventory type stuff?
Ooh, don't order too much.
Really great concepts.
That's easy.
Yeah, I think there's 26 or 28 episodes. So if you have younger kids, send them to here and have them watch these things. They're amazing.
So I have my own non-secret millionaire club. It's called Being Alex the Father. So to my son, we were walking through
Way more entertaining.
We were walking through Costco, and he wanted to have a pair of pajamas. And I said, no, son, but you can buy them from me. I'll buy them. They're $4. So I paid $4, and for like every day for 2 weeks, Dad, can I have it? I said, no, son, you've got to go to work, and I'll sell it to you for $8. So I said, look, for each thing you do, if you work an hour, I'll pay you $2. And again, the kid's 3, right? But I said, I want you to understand the importance, son, that I'm ripping you off, right? Not quite the Warren Buffett style, but he understands, don't buy stuff from Dad. All right?
Yeah.
Buy it yourself. Cut out the middleman.
Yeah. We do the same things with our kids. We're like, okay, you actually get something when you've earned it. You have chores to do. You've got to do your chores. Right. So Xavier, my 3-year-old, you know what he did? We have a little chore chart where once you do your chore, you move the little block over the other side to say it's completed.
Yep.
Yeah. So what Xavier did, instead of actually doing the chores and then moving the blocks,
Yep.
he just walked in there, moved all the blocks over and said, hey, my chores are done.
Done. Nice work.
I nailed it. I get emotional. He was working so hard.
Well, we were talking about earlier about some of the wealthy people who are not going to give it to their kids, and one of whom is Gene Simmons. He's the basis for KISS. Well, he did people talk about when you're giving to charities, when you're giving to other people, and you talk about all of the great good things you get from just helping people, right? Yeah. So my daughter asked me, what do I get for cleaning the dishes? I said, you get to be part of the family. Welcome to it. So
welcome.
Yeah. So Gene Simmons, we did this deal for Donald Trump where it was a charity deal. We're trying to raise as much money as possible. I don't recall what the charity was. And Gene was he was our talent that we'd hired. And when we won our task, Trump's like, well, congratulations, you get nothing except for the satisfaction that you both have given to a charity. And I'm like, oh, hell no, that's not exciting. I want some cash money.
You're like, show me the money, so Donald.
I know, right? So I'm still like, so that's a bitter lesson that, he tried to teach me that I still am trying to teach my kids. And I don't think it's a very good lesson.
I think it's a terrible lesson.
No, I wanted something free.
Exactly right. I wanted him to break out the checkbook and start writing some zeros.
That's what I want.
Exactly.
Is there anything else?
Because I'm a winner.
I know, right? Oh, man.
Yeah, so the other problem is, okay, that's something you can do. The Secret Millionaires Club for your young kids. smckids.com is the website.
Okay.
What do you do if your kids are older?
How much are we getting paid, by the way, for promoting this deal?
Oh, I'm the only one getting paid. You're not going to get paid anything.
This is exactly the kind of lessons my dad taught me.
Exactly right.
Alex, nobody cares.
Nobody cares. Work harder.
Right. There you go.
Yeah, so what do you do if your kids are older? What if they're teenagers, 16, 18 years old? What do you do then? What would you do? How do you educate your kids then?
Well,
they're getting ready for college.
I suppose that I would do some of the stuff we talked about. I would have them come into meetings. I'd have them explain, come up with a family budget. I probably wouldn't let them know, all of our income or all of our expenses, but I'd say, hey, here are 10 expenses, and here's how much income we have for that. I want you to allocate that, and then allocate for us to have time to go out for a fun time and money to save. How you want to do that, and have them come up with that.
Yeah, I think having kids, one of the great exercises that I've heard lots of advisors doing when they try to teach well-to-do kids, what do you do with money? Have them create a budget. Actually, have them research.
We didn't even coordinate this. I just came with that on the spot. Man, I should be paid for this stuff. I got like talent coming out my ears.
I'm gonna put 2 little coins in your purse.
Actually, I'm cheating it because I actually read this. I read that whole story from another guy. I think it was Dave Ramsey was talking about it. So I totally ripped it off. I'm worth nothing.
You just Googled 10 things to teach your kids before they're 20, and that was the one that came across, wasn't it?
No, we were talking about the show. I Googled spoiled rich kids with adult parents. And I was like, oh, wow, these are great articles.
They are great articles. And so, have them budget. Have them go and research. What does food cost? How much does it cost? You have to actually plan out some meals and figure out how much it costs.
Whole Foods, you need $1,000.
Yeah, whole paycheck. Love it.
Yeah, no kidding.
People love shopping there when things are going well. But
okay, so what else you got? Teenagers.
Yeah, so teenagers, one of the other things is teach them about investing. Teach them about how do you save money? What is investing? What is a mutual fund? What is the stock? What is debt? How do you know what is a good investment versus a bad investment? You can start teaching them principles of...
That's something that actually I need to do more of with my kids. I know for me, I think about consequences. And I talk about consequences all the time. I go to high schools. I'll talk to, college kids. The idea about cause and effect and creating the correlation between if you do this, this will likely happen. If you don't do this, then this will certainly happen, right? And so I talk about more of those life type lessons, but being able to identify from a financial investment standpoint, what are good things to put your money into and what are not? That's an area I need to improve on.
Right. And so
time.
And this is a great thing you can teach your kids. You can teach them about risk. Teach them about risk. You can take risk.
Perfect example. I wanted to buy a helicopter company. Fantastic.
Love it.
High risk.
High risk. High risk, very little reward, actually. But it's fun.
Very little reward, yeah.
But it is a fun job.
I became a pilot. I thought it was going to be fantastic. And it would have been fantastic. But the problem with helicopter companies is A, risk. B, seasons. C, maintenance cost. Holy
man.
cow. Right. So that's probably not going to work out. So back to the car wash idea. I love car washes. I want to do a car wash.
I love car washes too. But one of the things that they actually saw a board game. It's a board game you play with your kids.
Well, first of all, do you know any culture you're just skipping past? I mean, I want you to give appropriate obeisance to the car wash. I mean, do you know any culture that doesn't want to have a clean car?
Yes.
What?
Have you ever been to Morocco?
No, they want it.
No, I'm here to tell you. Not only do they not care about clean cars there, they don't care about road signs, stop signs, roundabouts. They don't care about any of that. No, I was there one time. We went to this central square, and there was this roundabout. The most confusing roundabout I've ever seen. You approach it, there's like 12 lanes coming together at this roundabout.
I think I've seen this thing on YouTube before.
There are no lanes to approach it. What happens is we're in a cab. I'm scared to death. We're approaching this thing, and everyone starts honking. I don't know why. Motorcycles are honking, cars are honking, buses are honking. Everyone's jockeying position.
Yes.
I'm not really sure when you actually decide you put the pedal to the metal.
And then you just go.
You just go.
No way.
We made it through there, but yeah. So
that reminds me of when I was in Egypt and I was going to tour this area, and our cab driver, I didn't know the currencies well. Again, I was like 20, mid-20s.
Who cares when you're that age?
Well, right. And our cab broke down, and so I learned a lesson in screwing the mechanic from this guy. So he had this guy come and fix, he called roadside assistance. The guy showed up, fixed the belt. He threw out the window the equivalent of $1 and peeled out of there and took off. I was like, we're in a real car chase. Except he's in a tow truck. This is awesome. I love this country. Viva Egypt
for you. See you.
Okay, so I digress. Okay, so we're off my little car tangent. I love car washes, but go ahead.
Okay, so now let's move on. So now you've actually, let's say you're in your 60s, 70s, or 80s. You've actually got older kids. So let's say your kids are over 30. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're 40, 50. And now what do you do? How do you educate them?
Ooh, right.
Chances are you probably don't.
Could you imagine? First of all, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Could you imagine your parents coming and say, hey, Cody, I'll talk about your spending habits?
No, because it's the other way around. I tell Mom and Dad, I want to talk to you about your spending habits. Let's talk about your investment. You want to retire? Let's just have a talk. And you better get a drink because it's going to take a while.
For those of you, by the way, who can't see Cody's eyes, he does this like when he gets really condescending. He does this like quadruple blink where he's like, oh, and he starts to roll his eyes up in his head like he's a zombie.
I'm entering a catatonic state.
I know, exactly right. Yeah, I cannot take instruction. Therefore, that's my point. A child is not going to take instruction from their kid at that point. So you probably lost them.
So now what do you do? Because you're like, well, I'd like to give something to my kids. I'd like to support them. Now what do you do? Lawyer?
Well, it depends.
Crickets? What?
It depends.
Okay.
Depends on the kid.
Okay. Let's just say that you have a 50-year-old son. You want to give them some money when you pass away, but if you give it to them, they're going to blow it on trucks,
Yep. They have
water skis.
There is a type of a trust called a spendthrift trust. You've heard spendthrifts.
Yes.
Spendthrifts, it is what it sounds like. Somebody just blows through all their money. And so
I don't know anyone like that.
No one. Yeah. And so what a parent can do is they can put all their money into this trust because their child is they're blowhard. They blow through everything.
Right.
And so they can't reach it. They only get a certain amount. There's a trustee and the money's protected and the kid's provided for. They'll be pissed about it, but you can put some poison pills into it, which says if they try to challenge it, they get nothing.
Have you read anything about the Disney kids, Walt Disney's kids?
I briefly heard about this. Tell me about it.
This is actually a breathtaking story. So, I mean, it's Walt Disney's kids. So there is a gigantic fortune at stake here. It's something like $400 or $500 million that this guy had that he gave to his kids. I'm sure it was more than that, but this is the portion he gave to his kids. Well, it was all tied up in a trust. They got principal distributions when they were 35, 40, 45, something like that. But if they were deemed to not have reached some level of financial maturity, they didn't get it. One of the three was deemed to be financially mature, so she got her money.
So one did, the other two didn't.
The other two didn't. So what did the other two do?
Sue!
They sued him.
You bring in your hero.
And you know what? Whenever you say the word sue, I don't care where you are, Alex lights up like a Christmas tree.
A tear just comes to my eye. Well, first of all, those of you who are sitting there in judgment on lawyers, look, if you want to pass the bill where you bring back the gunfighters, I am happy to settle disputes by shooting in the streets. If that's you want to come, you hire your gunfighter, I have my gunfighter, we shoot it out. Unless you want to do that, the remedy we have right now is you go to court and you get money. That's the remedy. That's justice working itself out.
But here's the reality. Regardless of what happened with the Disney kids, the lawyers got paid. And that is something we can all get. I mean,
that's something we can all agree on.
We can all appreciate it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the kids sued. The kids sued the trustee and said, "Hey, we're actually financially mature, and you're not doing your job as trustee. So we're suing you for our money." And what happened? What do you think happened?
Well, I know the end of this story.
Yeah, they actually got the money.
They got the money.
And unfortunately, the first one they gave to, the sister that they gave the money to, she actually went on like a year-long bender after she got her $20 million or whatever she got.
That's awesome.
Yeah, not awesome. She actually died at the end of that year, and so her money went to her brothers, who apparently won the case and got their money in the end anyway.
Well, that shows you that even though you think you have everything set up, you can attack through a will contest, through a trust contest. All those things can still be attacked. And so, I mean, if you're going to be concerned about giving money to your kids, you should start when they're young. Don't have bad kids. But what have you got to do if you have bad kids? Well, then you could have I'm sure now that the lawyers would have drafted that trust differently so that there are other default provisions, such as if you file a motion, then it goes to so-and-so.
Right. And the other thing is there's all this discretion that was given to the trustee.
Yeah,
and
I read that.
And that was the discretion that they actually challenged. They said, actually, it's your judgment that's bad. Give us the money. Show me the money.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have something similar in my will for my kids where I say, like, hey, if they have above a 3.5 GPA, then they get X at this age. If they have their own business, which generates Y, then they own more than 50%, and they haven't tried to circumvent, then they get, So there are some objective factors that I have in there for my kids.
Yeah. And so one of the things I've thought about is, well, how do you know whether you should create a trust or shouldn't? And one of the things I've fallen on is if your kid is independently successful in what they're doing, they've got a great job, a great career, all these things, probably okay to go ahead and give them the money. They're not going to blow it.
Right.
If they're involved in the family business where the money was actually made and they're working their way up and
they know what they're doing,
probably okay to give them money.
Right.
Outside of those two things, probably would not give them the money.
Yeah.
And you need to put it in some sort of irrevocable trust, so they actually don't get the principal.
And the other thing that's bizarre when you think about this, and this is a little awkward, consider your kids' spouses. I mean, if you're going to be getting a divorce,
that's a great point.
If you think your kid married a whore, right, or you think that your daughter married a loser, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. This is the reality. This is my life, right? This is what I do right now, right? Litigating over all of these trust and estate disputes.
Yes.
Those are the types of questions that you have to look in the mirror as a parent. And if that's the case, then you want to make darn sure that money goes into a trust and not to the person whose spouse may then divorce them and say, great, going to Cabo, going to it.
And driving in my new truck in my little private net jet.
There you go.
Love it. Yeah, so that's one of the other things that I've always thought about with my kids. I've always had this internal debate about whether you actually set up the trust and they get principal in little increments as they go along and they meet little milestones, or whether you just tie it up in an irrevocable trust, don't let them touch it.
Right.
They get income, they'll be okay, they'll be taken care of.
They'll be taken care of, right.
But the other side of that is it's difficult because, like, gosh, if you have a really great kid, they could do some amazing things with your money.
Yeah, if they had it early, right? They could have all these great businesses, right? So this shows the vagaries and the very personal nature when you're trying to create your own plan. How you want to talk to your financial advisor, you want to talk to your lawyer, you want to talk to your spouse, you want to come with a plan, and then you want to talk to your kids. And you want to talk to your kids, and you should let your kids know in advance, Hey, here's what's going to happen. So if you don't like it, you can stick it. Go pound sand because this is the plan. Do not let your kids be surprised at the reading the will that it's going into a trust or that's going to somebody else. Do not do that because here's what they're going to do. They're going to come up, beep, beep. Hi, Alex, can we sue them? Sure you can.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Spinny rims for everyone. I love it.
Don't do that. As much as I like to do the work, don't do that.
Yeah.
Just have a conversation. It's not that difficult.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think in summation, you have to be able to be a good judge of the character of your kids to make a good decision about pass the money, don't pass the money, and how to do it and how to structure it.
There you go.
But regardless of what you do, talk to your lawyer, your CPA, your investment person who's probably dealt with certain scenarios, and they can give you some examples of things that went right, and it's also some things that went very, very wrong and why they went wrong.
Well, Cody, you're laying down pure gold for me today. And this is legal tender. I mean, this is what it's all about. So thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.